This is Orlando Sentinel Now.
Hello and welcome. It's Friday, March 11th, and this is Orlando Sentinel Now. Today, we discuss the James Beard Award semifinalists here in Central Florida, plus the struggles of manatees and seagrass. I'm your host, Joe Mario Pedersen, and joining me today, I have food columnist Amy Drew Thompson and environmental and transportation reporter Kevin Spear. Thank you both so much for being here today. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Amy Drew, coming to you first here to talk about the semifinalists here in Central Florida for the distinction of the James Beard Award. Before we get into who those are, can you tell us about why this is so important?
This is such a big deal for our city because we are a growing culinary city. There are big cities that get their own regions, like New York and New Orleans get their own section for chef nominations because they have such a culinarily rich city. Orlando is growing, Michelin's coming here this year, and we've had Beard semifinalists before. To have 5 is a high number. It's 4 categories, 5 nominees, and everybody's really excited to see if anybody's going to make it through to the next round.
We've got some really cool names on here. Let's talk about the semifinalists themselves. The first restaurant that I want to talk about is Kabuki Sushi.
Yes, 2 kabukis for Chef Henry Mosso, who is the executive chef and owner of both of these venues. He is a second-time Beard semifinalist. A couple of years ago, he made the list for Rising Star Chef of the Year, and it seems like that was very brilliant of Beard because here he is back again on the list, and this time the category is Best Chef South.
Moving right along here, we have Sister Honeys. Can you tell us who's behind that?
Yvette Ramon, who this year was in the paper not even that long ago for being the first person to three-peat for the World Food Championships dessert category. That is no small feat. She's won these competitions before, but she was so super shocked to be among the other nominees. She says that she does stalk the list every year, but she was like, we're such a little hole-in-the-wall bakery, and it really, Sister Honeys, for as incredible job as they do, they are like a very modest little bakery. So this is a huge honor for her. She's very excited.
All right, for entry 3 here, Amy Drew, we got a big name, Robbie Saber of Four Seasons. Can you tell us about it?
Chef Robbie this is his second nomination. He is the executive pastry chef at the Four Seasons Orlando. He's highly accomplished, born in Morocco. He's been here since the opening of the Four Seasons, but he has worked around the world. Chocolate showpieces are a specialty. If you've ever been over to the Four Seasons at Christmas and you see those magnificent pieces that they do of chocolate that are really just artistry, and they keep them behind glass because God forbid anybody touch them. They're so beautiful. He is up for Outstanding Pastry Chef, and this is his second go-around with the nomination.
The last one here I want to talk about is a twofer. We've got Jason and Sue Chin over at the Good Salt. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, Good Salt is the umbrella restaurant group that owns Reyes Mezcaleria, the Osprey, the Monroe, and Sato Sushi Baldwin Park, all restaurants that you see constantly coming up on my lists, on every list of every foodie in the city. I'm sure that some of you guys have eaten at least one of those restaurants at some point. Reyes actually hosted a Beard dinner this year, which was very exciting for them. And I think it's really, I know that Jason told me that it really feels like validation because, they wouldn't be able to do this without their team. And it's really nice recognition for their umbrella of concepts and everything that they have going on over there. And everybody really kind of echoed the idea that the more nominations we have, the more license that folks in that industry have to be more creative, to push the envelope, to sort of show things that they want to do and have them be accepted by the dining public, which when they see a Beard nomination, they go, oh, well, maybe we should look at this. Maybe we should try this. Maybe this isn't beyond the scope of what we want to see on our menus. So it should be exciting for the city and, as far as growth goes. And I can't wait to see if everybody brings one home. That would be really exciting.
So Amy Drew, when do we find out who made it to the finals?
That will happen on March 16th. So we've got a few days left to be really excited. And then we'll find out if any of our semifinalists will make it to the last round. And the winner will be determined on June 13th, I believe, a Monday at the big event in Chicago.
It is really exciting, especially to see Orlando recognized for its cuisine. It often, as you point out in your article, it feels like Orlando is often overlooked.
Yeah, well, we have so many good things going on down by the parks, and that's true, but there's so much in the city center and scattered, and it's nice to be able to say, hey, we're in the mix with New Orleans, we're in the mix with Los Angeles, with San Francisco, with all of these other cities, Chicago, that that receive lots of recognition every year at the Beard Awards.
Well, there you go. If you want to find out more about the semifinalists, be sure to take a look at Amy Drew's story right now at orlandosentinel.com. All right, Kevin, I want to change gears here, coming over to you for a story that has just been ongoing. Manatees' prolonged struggle. Their suffering looks endless as seagrass fails to revive. That's one of your most recent headlines here as we take a look at what's going on in the state of manatees. Now, this story about manatees is as much about them as it is about seagrass, as you point out.
Yeah, that's right. The story of manatees has been particularly grim, drawing the wrong kind of recognition to the state of Florida last year and this year with record-setting mortalities of manatees, and particularly in Brevard County, straight east of us. But manatees are really the face of this environmental tragedy. What the core, the root problem here is the die-off of the underwater forest, if you will, the seagrasses of many different species in the Indian River. It used to be a really lush place with seagrasses, and seagrasses host countless critters, including manatees, which eat the stuff, but seagrasses are virtually gone today, and that's the real problem here.
As your report points out, the seagrass is failing to revive here, but as we've seen before, pollutants have been the big problem in the water. Have we seen any progress as far as the water goes?
Yeah, this state, it's hard to believe that this is going on here in 2022. We have a deep, rich history of destroying our environment and supposedly learning some lessons from that. But here we go again. And the way we respond to address environmental problems in Florida is typically to wait for a full-blown disaster. And then we throw truckloads of money at it. And that's going on right now to lessen the amount of sewage spills and septic tank seepage and stormwater runoff and the other measures to clean up the Indian River, that coastal Indian River along the Atlantic coast. And that stuff is like fertilizer when it gets into the water, and it fuels the growth of algae, thick growth of algae, and the algae is like a big umbrella, and it blocks the sun from getting to seagrasses at the bottom, and they perish. So yeah, there's been some with this emergency pouring of money into the Indian River. There's been some progress, and there will be more progress, but people are starting to note that the seagrasses, even though the water is starting to look better, the seagrasses aren't responding like a lot of people hope they will.
Talk to me more about that hope. So what would it take to actually see that seagrass actually respond?
Depopulate Florida? No, I'm kidding. It would take, and that's really the issue here is the intense development that's occurred coastally and continues to occur. So it all comes back to our population growth and how we deal with it. But a long haul and many dollars in addressing our sewage handling and stormwater handling. And there are a bunch of people who would like to see the feds come in with a far tougher regulatory approach to force Florida to take the steps that are necessary. And everybody knows what they are. But in these contentious times between the pressure to develop and grow the economy, our environment often loses out, and that continues to be the case.
I hate to make this even more morbid than it already is, Kevin, but as you point out, the face of the story is the manatees, or are the manatees in this case. Yeah. And you've gotten to see that over in the river. What are the state of these manatees right now? I mean, last year we were looking at a record number of deaths Are we on track for that this year again?
We'll see. It's neck and neck. Last year, the state documented 1,101 manatee deaths, and we're pretty close to that right now. But in Brevard County, the toll just in Brevard County is far ahead of what it was in Brevard County last year. So we'll see. Red tide plays a part, and other things as well. And what the total numbers are at the end of the year, that remains to be seen. I've covered this almost every week with, I think, a pretty hard-hitting story, and I rarely get to focus on things that much. But I have to say that I think of manatee as like deer or rabbits or any other critter. I'm not particularly fond of them, or more fond than anything else, and a lot of people are, that's for sure. But it is shocking to see these big animals, and they're powerful animals, unquestionably. To see them so emaciated and really stricken in the waters of the Indian River. And I think that's an appropriate face to this disaster. I think people get manatees. I think it's harder to get the meaning of seagrasses. So I've really focused a lot on the manatees in this story.
Certainly a story that we'll be keeping up with as we have more updates down the road. If you're interested in finding out more about that, take a look at Kevin's story, all of Kevin's stories following the Manatee crisis at OrlandoSentinel.com, where you can get caught up with all the different news and events happening in and around Orlando and Central Florida. For those of you who are subscribers to the Orlando Sentinel, thank you so much for supporting this kind of work and supporting local journalism. If you want to become a supporter, it's really easy to do so. All you need to do is visit OrlandoSentinel.com/subscribe. But as for OSN, that will do it for us this week. A big thank you to Amy, Drew, and Kevin for keeping us filled in and what's going on in our community. We'll be back again next week with more news. Stay healthy and stay safe.
Watch Orlando Sentinel Now live every weekday at noon on our Facebook page and on OrlandoSentinel.com.